We're going live now. One of you guys has a dinger on. I'm not sure if you can try to mute that or not. If you can, great. And if you can't, you can't.
I think it might have been out of my Facebook window.
Yeah, and you know what? Quite frankly, I don't know how to turn that kind of stuff off anyway. So we'll see. But we'll wait just a minute to get a couple more viewers here. But right now, we are live and with Wendy Foreman and Shannon Murree. And today we are going to be talking about time blocking and protecting your calendar. And so Wendy, and do you want to go first? Tell us a little bit about you, where you're from, what does your business look like?
So I'm an agent in Norman, Oklahoma, 18 years. There's 3 of us on our team, with my husband primarily handling our rentals and commercial business, and a licensed assistant and I. And we're with EXP for the last 18 months or 19 months.
Wendy, we lost your audio.
Uh-oh. Can you hear me?
Oh, now you're back.
Okay. What part of it did you get and what part of it did you not get?
That you're from Oklahoma and you're with EXP.
And there's 3 of us on our team, with 2 of us primarily handling residential sales only.
Okay, perfect. Shannon, what about you?
Hi, I'm Shannon Murree. I'm actually located in Canada, and our team is the Shannon Murree team based out of Barrie, Ontario, just a little bit north of Toronto. And we deal primarily with investors. I would say about probably 95% of our business is investors, so it's a very specific niche focus with a touch on property management. And then, of course, we work with sellers and buyers as well. So we have a diversity, but with a majority of the focus on a specific strategy, which allows us to work with specific events, people, and to really be able to hone in on our skills and be considered experts, if you will, just because of our experience with that. So
awesome. Very cool. So tell me a little bit. Go ahead.
Oh, there's Stephanie.
Hi. I did it.
We got in, yay.
Stephanie, are you in?
I'm in.
Awesome, yay. So we also have Stephanie Walls. Stephanie, we're with Wendy and Shannon right now. Stephanie, tell us a little bit about you, where you're from. What does your business look like right now?
Madison, Wisconsin. And I work for a different kind of company. We do real estate construction and design. So we help, what we do is buyer revival. So we help people find homes that are distressed and help fix them up before they even move in. So my husband owns the company. So it's kind of like we're moving in the direction of like the fixer-upper team. So yeah, I mean, right now I'm super busy. I have 3 babies. I have an 11-month-old, a 3-year-old, and a 5-year-old. And I just got a nanny, and she's actually here helping me right now. So she's helping me right now. So I'm able to start doing a little bit more outside of just my inner sphere. I want to start breaking out a little bit more into networking groups and working more on my business. I just am hiring MK Assist. I don't know if you guys know who that is. It's just like a transaction coordinator online. So yeah.
Awesome. Very cool. So let's talk when you guys think about, first of all, thank you all for joining us. And for those of you tuning in right now, if you have questions or commentary, we would love to see it. So please feel free to comment in the section on Facebook, and we'll do our best to get to everyone. But tell us a little bit about, Shannon, how old are your kids? Yours are a little bit older.
Yeah, my youngest is 14. He's in grade 9. And then my daughter is going to be 20. She's off at her 2nd year of college. And my eldest is 22. And he's off on his own doing his own thing. So, and actually he just texted me some exciting news while you were all talking. So Yeah, that's kind of cool. He just talked about joining my team, actually.
Oh,
Fun.
that's exciting.
Yeah, he's like, Mom, I have some good news for you. I'm going to join the Murree team. I went, that's good because that's why I built the brand. You're Murree. Sorry.
That's awesome. Oh, that's all
Sorry.
good.
Yeah.
Wendy,
Anyway.
what about you? What does your personal life look like right now?
So I have a 13 and a 17-year-old. So I started in real estate with my oldest as an infant and, kind of doing the whole thing of dragging him around. So I've been there and done that. I mean, I've been there. And I think that there's a lot of women getting into real estate that are trying to juggle family and, keep a business running. It teaches us to multitask, but that's why time blocking is so important.
Well, let's talk about that. When you think about time blocking, I think everyone does it a little bit differently. And I think we run into this vicious trap in this business, in this industry. And I think just as women in general, regardless of if you're in real estate or not, that we tend to want to be everything to everyone and we just can't, right? And we want to help our clients, we want to help our friends whenever they need help, and we just can't because the priority first is the kids, the second is the work, and or whatever it may be for you. And so, how do you, first of all, how do you go best about saying no when you want to help? And I think sometimes you feel guilty when you say no because you really want to help. You just know that it's not your top priority at that moment. So how do you handle that? And then how do you go ahead about protecting your calendar? Wendy, you want to start with you?
Well, I think the calendar thing has been super important to me. My assistant works, not at my home, like I office out of my home. And so she and I have merged calendars. So she always knows what's going on mine and I always know what's going on in hers. And obviously, you set aside time to do certain things every day. And I found at least with myself, if I don't kind of stick to the calendar as much as possible, I'm not saying that things don't change from time to time and that there aren't things that get switched around during the day, but I can focus in on what I'm supposed to be getting done. I think it makes me at least a little bit more productive. And that includes appointments with my family.
Let's talk about that. Appointments with your family. Do Shannon and Stephanie, do either of you ladies do that?
No, unfortunately. I don't do any time blocking, unfortunately, because I just got the nanny. So I was at home with the 11-month-old and the 3-year-old in the morning. So I was on the phone with inspectors and realtors and sending out emails while they're all screaming and pulling on me. So I have had no system at all. I have not had a time blocking system at all. So I love that you're doing this time blocking because I need a good system for what I should be doing or time blocking on a weekly basis or daily basis. And so at this point, I don't do it.
Okay. Shannon, what about you?
I used to be like
that's a great honest response, Stephanie. I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's great. And that's what everyone needs to hear because I used to be like Stephanie. I was, especially starting when I first started this business years ago, first of all, we're women. So we have, the hats of mom, wife, those responsibilities. And even if it's not imposed on us, it's what we feel ourselves. So we have that. So we're givers. So we do all that for everybody else. And then we're starting this business or we're in the business and we are now team leads and we have other people to which we're responsible for. So I used to work, I swear, 7 days a week, and I was forever on call, forever. Do you ladies remember pagers? Remember before we had all the smartphones, right?
I never had one, but I remember.
Yeah, I'm dating myself. But anyway, back in the day, no. And so I was available 24/7, 7 days a week. My baby was a baby. Like, I think I was, like, breastfeeding in the car, like, in between appointments, if I remember correctly. Right?
Yep.
And at the end of the day, after I learned systems and processes, because I had nothing left to give. I was exhausted. I was depressed. And this is where everything for me changed. And I think Nicole and I were talking about this on another thing that we did before. I use Google Calendar, and I schedule everything. Everything is color-coded. Whatever is an income producing thing is green. Whatever's charity is pink because that makes me happy. Self-care is yellow. Self-care is number one. I'm number one. That's it. Nothing gets into that time, whether it's a spa day, if I sneak away to whatever. I'm number one, whether it's the gym, and then my family, and then business. And that's to make everything well-rounded, and I stick to that schedule. And that's pretty much what I've learned. And I work 6 days a week now. And I probably take off Saturday, but I don't. I mean, my kids do their own thing, so it doesn't matter. But Sundays are my day off, no matter what. Nothing gets in between that, so I can always have a static plan where my friends or family know that if they want to plan something with me, it's always going to happen. It's not, let me check my schedule and get back to you.
Well, you just said something that I really, really loved, Shannon, and that I've struggled with so much, and it's the self-care portion of that. So for me, how I've always done my calendar, so I'm a single mom. My kids are 12 and 17. My ex-husband and I have the kids 50-50. So the first thing that's on my calendar is the time I have my kids, and nothing gets in that time. And it was different when I was still married because if I wasn't around, my ex-husband was there, and it wasn't a big deal to schedule an appointment in the evening or on the weekend. And now it is, because that takes away from the 50% of the time I have my kids. So I don't do that anymore. And what I've struggled with the most, especially the last few years, and I got really good at it for a while, and it fell off the wayside, was the self-care. And I love how you said that you're number one. You put yourself number one, and we should. I think Oprah had a really great segment on this about putting yourself back on your list. And I love that you do that, because I know that I've let my personal self-care stuff go by the wayside, and that's one of the things that I'm going to be talking about more within the series of video blog topics that we're talking about, is that exact thing. So Shannon, I'm going to have you back again at some point to talk more about that. But Wendy, what about you? How are you going about blocking off what's important to you and your goals?
I have to say that I love that Stephanie is multitasking right now. Like, she's the epitome of like folding laundry. Like, sorry.
The folded laundry concept is almost a foreign concept in my house lately, I'll tell you, with the teenagers.
Well,
Sorry,
I
Wendy.
like what Shannon said about color coding. For us, our stuff is color coded, but it's color coded by team members. So I like how she's prioritizing. I haven't done that, although I'm pretty good about putting the appointments for the stuff that I find important to me on my calendar, and then just sticking to it as much as possible. The thing that gets me is some days, it starts getting a little crazy, and I basically have to defer to my right-hand person and say, no more appointments today. I've fit in as much as I could. It's completely full, and I don't want to stress myself out. So that's a problem for me when I can kind of see our schedule getting overloaded.
Right.
Do you guys have any examples of your time blocking? Like, what? I mean, I know for sure, every day I have to check my emails in the morning. Like, but what do you have in your time blocking, like daily, that you do that is super important that you make sure you do every day, or at least once a week or twice a week? Do you have like an example of what you time block?
So I start out with new business. So I spend an hour trying to get new business, and then the next hour would be lead follow-up. I don't even open
every day.
Yeah, and I don't even open the email until the third hour, because I had a problem. I had a personal problem, we'll just say, with the email can take you down rabbit holes that you get lost in forever.
Yep.
So, but I have a right-hand person who's also checking emails too. So I lost the ability to feel bad about not checking the email just constantly.
Okay. But so daily you spend at least an hour on generating new business?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the second hour.
I love that, because I think what we need to realize is that our schedule should be time blocked according to what our goals are, right? So if your calendar does not reflect your goals, then what is it reflecting? So that's something that I think maybe we could even do a workshop on this, because Wendy and Shannon, are you familiar with like how to 1-3-5 a goal, where you have your big goal, the 3 big things that have to happen to make it happen? You break those 3 things down into 5 smaller items, actionable items that you can work on daily.
No, haven't heard that.
It's been a while
So,
since we talked about that.
Isn't that a Keller Williams thing?
well,
I feel like I
we
heard
learned
that.
it. Yeah, I think I shared it with you once years ago, Stephanie. I think that's probably where you heard it from. But
Okay.
Keller Williams did a good job of teaching it. That's not something that was their thing by any means. I don't know exactly where it came from. I used to know this, but whenever my team and I were setting goals and working on something, we go back to the calendar and say, okay, what are the steps that need to happen for us to achieve this goal, and then how is it reflected appropriately on our calendar, and then do we stick to it? So for example, my listing appointments are all time blocked, and so my team has full empowerment to schedule a listing appointment for me at any given time, as long as it fits into the pre-booked slots that are on my calendar that says hold for listing appointment.
Right.
And things like there are big things every day. Like we have a team huddle every day at 10 a.m. On Mondays we have a company-wide meeting at 11. There are other things that are on my calendar along with my kids' stuff, but I really need to. My biggest challenge is going back to the self-care stuff, because for me that's when I wake up and do it the right way, everything else of the day goes much smoother.
Miracle morning.
The miracle morning, and I love the miracle morning, and I need to get back on the miracle morning. It's interesting how that little thing can change your life so impactfully, and then we fall off of it, and why? Like, that's ridiculous. So
Sorry,
I say that just because, oh my gosh, Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod, E-L-R-O-D.
Audible book. Get the Audible, man. Then you can re-listen and re-listen and re-listen. It's a forever
It's
book.
a quick and easy read. I'm just looking. I might have it. Let me just text my assistant real quick to bring me the book so I can pull it up here. But it's a life changer, and it's so simple. There's nothing in there that's really mind blowing, but it really helps to structure your day. Wendy, you've read it as well, Wendy, right?
Yeah.
You want to talk about it for a minute while I see if I can find the book here?
Well, it helps you kind of get focused in. It also got me getting up early and starting my day earlier, so that there were things that I could take care of a lot earlier too.
Right.
And mainly the self-care.
I guess I'm already automatically doing that, because I just found in my own personal life that some people go to the gym lunchtime, or sometimes people go in the afternoon or evening. But I found for me, and just like you, Wendy, I found myself, once I got onto that email, then I was dealing with somebody else's crap, somebody else's tasks instead of my own. Word choice. I was dealing with other people's energy instead of focusing on what I wanted. I learned something very important from, is it Damon, the guy from Shark Tank or whatever? Damon, anyway, he said something very profound. Before he goes to bed, he meditates and he focuses on the key things that he wants to accomplish. So then as he's sleeping, those are with him throughout the night.
That's in this book as well.
Yeah, exactly. But I was already doing automatically that. My son gets up, he's in grade 9, so he has to be on the bus for 7:30 in the morning, and then that is my time. I do what's called a fasted cardio, so I don't eat right away. So what I'll do is I'll be burning off the calories from the night before. So I'll hop on the treadmill, or I'll go on my bike, or I'll do those things, and I take that hour and a half for myself, focused, meditate, whether I listen to my books or whatever I have on Spotify, and I take that time to meditate and reflect on how I want my day to unfold. And then I'll come back, and then I'll have my breakfast, and then I will, I'll organize what I want to do. I'll like maybe have like a final task, like maybe like a quick follow-up with the assistant on, what administrative things or tasks are urgent, and then respond to email, and then focus on my marketing. And so I just kind of unfold it that way. So me first, and not selfish, but I just have to protect it, because If not, the day is gone. Like, if I'll have the best intention, I'll go to the gym later at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock. I tell you, I never go, ever. Never go.
Yep.
Well, at least you kind of get where you know what you can and cannot do, or what your comfort levels on stuff. And I think people need to be able to focus on that and know that go with what's comfortable. You know what I mean? Meet yourself where you're at.
Exactly. And what's right for me isn't exactly right for everybody else. You have to work within your schedule, but I just know what works for me. And I don't know about you, but I don't like to live in regret. And I don't like that wasted negative energy of oh, should have, coulda, woulda, or kicking myself. Oh, I didn't go to the gym today. Even if I don't want to, if I just kick myself and just get out of the way, there, yeah, cool. Miracle Morning with
Miracle Morning, great book. And it's an easy read. It's actually I'm hopping on a plane this afternoon. It's 127 pages. I think I'm going to read it again while I'm on the plane because it really is impactful. And I've had this conversation with my team before that if I was having a conversation with one of my coaches a while ago, and it was if you look back over your career, when think about a time that you felt like the most productive that you ever were, the most productive that you have been, or the happiest, or whatever the case is. And when I think back on it, it was when I was getting up early, I was working out first thing in the morning. I was managing my day, time blocking, planning my day, just sat down for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, looked at what my calendar was for the day, and actually planned how I was going to accomplish it. Just like that mindfulness of it, instead of just reacting to what you put on your calendar, so that way you are controlling it instead of it controlling you, was so impactful in my business. And it's great, and then you fall off. And so I think the message here is that time blocking is not difficult once you have your priorities set on what's important to you, and you put the items on your calendar according to that priority. It's sticking to it that can be oftentimes a challenge. So let's talk about that, especially when it comes to when you're in a service-oriented business, whether it's real estate. I know we've got a couple insurance people watching. Whatever the case is, when you're in a service business and you've got someone that wants something right now, how do you ladies go about protecting to make sure it's still honoring your calendar, respecting your calendar, and taking care of your client at the same time?
For me, I either pass it off and ask Teresa to help me with it and jump in, or I let the client know that I will be with them as soon as I finish the appointment I'm on. Because the reality is, to me, the calendar is an appointment. Do you guys feel like that way? I mean, I just
love that.
The calendar, I think I was one of those people that falsely talked themselves into believing the whole multitask thing. But the problem with the multitasking is that I don't think that I gave 100% to any one thing that I was then working on.
Yeah.
And so if you can't give 100% to what you're doing, you're then, like Shannon was talking about, you live in regret or you feel disappointed. And there's no point in us doing that to ourselves, really, when what we're doing, the business that we're handling, the family obligations that we're handling, the self-care. I mean, if we don't pay attention to all of it and give it 100% of our time when we're doing it, then you're living in regret on that, and that's not helpful to your well-being either.
Well, yeah, and it suffers, and you're half-assing it, for lack of a better term, at that. I 100% agree. I think if the book, The One Thing, does a really great job of explaining that and talking about how you effectively focus on whatever the task is that you have at hand, and that's also a really, really great read when it comes to time blocking and protecting your calendar. It's one of my favorites by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan. Really, really fantastic book.
What's it called?
The One Thing. I think I gave it to you, Stephanie. I think I actually gave you a copy.
No, but you told me about it. I still haven't read it.
Of course you haven't. You have 3 babies under the age of 5. You've been pregnant for most of the last few years. So
I know. For 5 years straight.
Exactly. Shannon, what about you?
I was just reflecting on things that I've learned in the past, and at the end of the day, what's our why? And if our why is to have a better life, or if our why is to be able to create a legacy to pass on to our children, if we don't take care of ourselves, then what's the point of doing it? To be quite honest with you. I mean, if we're not able-bodied, and that's something I've learned in the last year, I'm so glad that I had made that decision a couple of years ago to put myself first, and I assure you, it was very, very hard. It wasn't easy. I just made that promise to myself. But I'm still recovering from a major skiing accident that happened December 28th, in which I almost died. And it has put my fitness regime on hold. However, I'm so grateful that I had systems and processes in place. So as I was recovering, I still have income coming in, and I still have those things, because I don't know what I would have done if everything I had done to work to get to this point, if it all came crashing and tumbling down because everything was encumbered just on me. I don't know. That's just reality. And what is that? We should be, working. We should be working to live, not live to work, right? So if we can't take that time off, so I've just, it may be selfish, but it's just something I've really learned and just really focused and honed in on.
Well, I think it's important to add to that. It's okay to be selfish when it comes to your own well-being. And I think, a lot of us don't give ourselves enough credit for that, but it's perfectly an acceptable thing, as you should be, because as you said before, Shannon, you're number one, right? It's you. And so it's okay to be selfish when it comes to protecting what's really the most important to you. And so I think you got to give yourself that permission. Wendy, when you go to time block your calendar, what are your top 3 things that you put on every day, week, month? How do you structure that?
Well, the family appointments are on there always first. I'm trying to think. Then the times that you're going to be off on vacation are pretty usually blocked out. Conventions kind of go next on there, when you're looking at a year ahead. I think that kind of getting that stuff on there, or like if, and adjusting as things come up, but reoccurring appointments with family members are always on there first. And then I kind of fill in, obviously, with getting new business and following up with stuff that's going on, and then hitting the email last if Teresa hasn't gotten a chance to deal with it. I think that she and I've got a pretty good system right now that, she needs to take a day off. Like yesterday, she had to run down to Louisiana with her grandson and a doctor's appointment, that we have the ability to do that. I think our mobile society and the systems that we have set up allow us to be a lot more mobile than we maybe used to be. We're not tied to an office. We can work from wherever we need to be. But I think, like Shannon was saying about all it takes is to get really sick once. A few years back, I was in ICU for 2 weeks, and you get knocked off your feet, and you're very, very sick, and you find out real quick how your systems work. And just having the backup on that, and having things ready to go, and letting the wheels still turn, and like she's saying, money's still coming in, clients are still being taken care of. That was a key thing for me, and something I didn't really realize, because even after being in the hospital for 2 weeks, I was still in bed for a month at home.
I think I want to completely have another conversation about this, and maybe Shannon, Wendy, and we can probably find a few others as well. We can all get on, because if you don't know me well personally, you don't know that I have a prosthetic leg. And then a year ago, I had my Achilles completely reconstructed and had to be completely immobile for months. I actually lived in a nursing home for a little over a month, and was in a wheelchair for several months. I couldn't really walk again until March of this year. It was a very long recovery. It still hurts. It could be a year to a year and a half until I was without pain and back to full mobility. And I'm a year out now, and I still struggle with stairs. I struggle with being on my feet too long. And I had a lot of things that happened during that time with my team that resulted in a loss of income, loss of business, and things like that. That said, we were still able to keep it going because of other things that we had going on. And so I think that that's something that we need to really talk about more at some point, because we all know, like Shannon, Wendy, and I, we all have really great teams. And so if something happens to us, yeah, we have other people that can help pick up the slack here and there. And the vast majority of agents don't. So they go away, they're not there to do the business, and they're screwed beyond belief, because we don't have benefits in this industry unless we personally buy them or you're married to someone who does. And so we have all these different layers of risk that are on us as agents that a lot of people don't understand. And I think that that is a really great topic of conversation for another format. So I thank you much for bringing that up. I'm just jotting this down here, but I really liked also, Wendy, what you said about your vacations. I don't know if y'all can see my calendar, but I'm very visual. I've got my big old calendar here, and like the first thing I do every year is block out vacations and conferences and when I'm going to be gone. And I really like to see a lot of that full of not being here. I live where it's cold. I don't really like it, but the first thing that's on my calendar is my time with my kids. The second thing is conferences and vacations and when I'm going to be out of town. And I try to block as much of that off as I possibly can in advance so I can plan accordingly. Anything else?
If I could add, so if there's somebody out there watching, or maybe even for Stephanie, so Google, I'm visual like you, so sometimes I'm not good with technology in terms of the calendar. I like to set things and forget it. So sometimes I'll kind of do like double. I'll put it in the Google Calendar. So I'll set the alert for 48 hours or sometimes even a week, because I have to like kind of put it in my head. And then I'll set another reminder again. But I honestly have another yearly calendar, like another black book, so I can open it up and I can just scratch and write everything down. So I can see everything within the week that I have to do and color code it too. A block like maybe from 10 o'clock until 6 p.m. or something like that. Another point too is because we don't like to say no and we don't like to disappoint. If I have a new lead from a listing or something and a new call and they're like, oh, I want to see this, like how many times are we at the beck and call of somebody else, right? So we have our schedule. I actually try to be in control of that call in that time. And if I know that I'm going to be at the south end of Barrie instead of the north end, I'll actually say to that customer, even if I have a personal appointment with a family member or whatever, a personal appointment, I just want to let you know I have this time and day available and this time available. And I'll let them choose, the time, as opposed to going, I'm really sorry I can't make it. And then I create that, but you're important to me, but here are the 2 times available. You choose. I don't know if that helps someone.
It
Absolutely. That's a very good point.
Well, and being so that for me, it's, if somebody needs attention right then, we do try to give that to them. But if I've got 10 people behind me lined up, the odds of somebody being able to take care of that person, one of my team members is going to pick that up.
Yeah. Can I let you know why I don't do that? Because then I'm setting a relationship to that person that I'm always available whenever they call me and email me.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I do that all the time. I feel like I have to answer right away or respond right away. And I am setting myself up for clients that get annoyed if I don't respond to them within 15, 20 minutes.
You are, and that's a vicious trap. You need to, and I'm glad that you're aware of that right now. I think when on one of the previous episodes we were talking about, first of all, you teach people how to treat you, right? And I told the story about I had this client several years ago who, I have really bad insomnia, so I wake up in the middle of the night all the time, and I wake up and I get on my email and I'd respond at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning whenever I would wake up. And then go back to sleep and deal with whatever the next morning. And I happened to sleep through the night one night, and I had a client who emailed me at about 11 p.m. and I slept through the night, happened to not check my email till I got to the office that next morning, which was about 7:30, 8 o'clock the next morning. Emailed me at 11 p.m. and at 5:30 a.m. I had already received an email from him, and he was pissed off because I hadn't messaged him back yet.
Oh no.
From 11 p.m. to 5:30 a.m. And at first I was really mad, and I'm like, how dare you? And then I realized that was my fault because I taught him that I was up in the middle of the night responding instantly, and that was my own fault. So now we don't respond to emails before 8:30 in the morning at all. Like, it's just we might draft it up or whatever at 8:30 in the morning, boom, it's ready to go. But I am never going to teach somebody that I'm available that early in the morning to be at their beck and call.
Good
There's
idea.
absolutely nothing that can wait. So, what did you say, Stephanie? I didn't hear that.
That's a great idea. What do you
Mhm.
do for nighttime though? What is your latest that you will respond to people at nighttime?
It depends on the situation, but most of the time, most of the time by 6 o'clock in the evening, I'm done. Unless I'm happen to be negotiating the contract, and then I set an expectation with my client or the co-broke agent, whoever. Like, this is when I'll be available. This is when my client's available, and we'll go from there. But I am not, like, I go to bed early, like 8:30, 9 o'clock. I'm done, and my ringer on my phone is never on. It's so because I got addicted to this stupid device.
I
Um,
know.
so my ringer's not on, and so I look at it under my terms when I want to look at it. That's what I do make sure my clients are taken care of. I'm just not jumping at every time I get a little beep or notification.
I
So
would be laying in bed and I'd get a message and I would jump like, oh my gosh, it's got to be a client. Like I have to answer. And my husband would be like, no, no.
Yeah, I turned off the
Deal.
notification.
Yeah. As a mom of a family who used to be young and I used to be married, he hated everything that I did, even though it provided a good livelihood for us. But because that's how I created it, like he was with me before I started as a realtor, so he saw how Shannon used to be to Shannon being this team lead. I don't know, like jealousy or whatever, but yeah, I was like that, Stephanie, and I sacrificed so much. So, if I could caution anyone who's watching with that, I know it's so tough as a wife and a mother for that balance. There's some small things I wish I could have changed. Not so much, don't get me wrong. It takes two. But, I learned a lot. So I know that, Lord willing, in my next relationship, I would not make the sacrifices that I did, and make sure that my partner knows that he's a priority to me and very, very important. Because again, without our why, what's the point of doing it? I wouldn't. Yeah. Anyway.
I love that, Shannon, I appreciate your transparency on that. And if I could just share a story that this was, if you know me well, you've heard this story before, but this was really, how you have those like life-defining moments or something happens and it's very seemingly insignificant, but it's so impactful. And one of them for me was in 2010, I went to Europe for the first time, and I took my daughter. We were gone for 6 weeks touring Europe, and it was my third day. We started in Rome. Third day in Rome, I called. I had bought one of these, and this is like really before iPad popularity. This is again 2010. I bought one of those tiny little laptops that fit in your purse.
Yeah.
And I had called my assistant, and I had a transaction that was falling apart back home. And by the way, I didn't really have a team at that point. I did have an assistant, but I had another agent that was helping watch over my business. And this transaction's falling apart, and I knew that the other agent was helping out on it, but I felt compelled to get involved, and I was freaking out about this transaction, and I was trying to find an internet connection, and in Rome at the time, Wi-Fi was really difficult. And so my daughter and I are sitting at the top of the Spanish Steps. She's 9 years old, and she's like, "Mommy, look at this. Mommy, look at that." And I am irritated with her because I'm trying to Skype with my assistant to save this deal. And I'm like, Maya, Mommy's working. Just give me some time. Give me a few minutes. And I literally had this out-of-body experience where I'm floating over myself, looking down on myself, and all that was in my head was, is this going to matter when you're on your deathbed? Like, I'm in Rome with my 9-year-old daughter, and I'm working on this transaction, and I'm like, and there were other people on it. It's not like it was being ignored. There were other people that were on it that were fully capable. So I slammed my laptop shut and I didn't check in again the rest of the trip. Fast forward 3 weeks later, I was in Paris with my daughter, and we were having lunch at this very Parisian cafe, and Eiffel Tower's in the background. Someone's playing the violin, and somebody's BlackBerry goes off in the background, and it had the same tone as my BlackBerry, and I literally jumped and seized, and like my whole body went tense, and I'm like, oh my God, I just had a physical reaction to a phone.
Mm-hmm.
And that was not okay. And that was that from that day forward, my cell phone ringing has been on maybe a total of 2 days, if at most. I will turn it on if I am expecting an urgent call, but beyond that, I check it on my time when I want to. Yeah, I check it frequently, but I don't want to ever become that when I hear it, I don't want to have to react instantly and have that internal panic that I haven't. So, Stephanie, I've been there. It's a vicious cycle. Get out of it, I guess is my big point.
I wrote that down. I wrote my time. I wrote them down. I'm going to silence my phone. I'm duly noted.
Well, turning off the notifications to only things that are super important is good to me. The other thing that I think that a lot of people do is sleeping with the phone, and I actually kind of ban that at my house. So there's a specific place where phones go to be charged, and it's not near anybody's bedroom.
That's a really great idea.
Yeah.
I really like it. My kids don't have cell phones.
Sleep.
Yeah.
And
I agree. My son has to keep, like, all the electronics have to go in the loft. And also for safety concerns, too, because I've seen people charge them on their beds or something, and that's been a hazard. So I showed pictures of that to my son. I'm like, don't do that. Another thing as well that if for someone watching or listening is, again, it's worth setting the expectation. So in your voicemail as well, that's a great gadget. And when you're time blocking and you know that, for example, like Wendy says, okay, she's doing her outsourcing and new business. So as you're setting your day, time block when you're going to be returning calls. Turn your phone off or forward your phone. I like to forward my phone sometimes as well, so they always got a live person. Our brokerage actually has a 24-hour live service, so some people feel that they have to be needed and they want to speak to a live person. They want voicemail, so sometimes, depending on what it is, I'll forward that. Otherwise, in my voicemail, I'll actually say, hi, you've reached a personal voicemail of Shannon Murree. Please be advised I'm on the road or on an appointment. Your call is important to me. I will be returning calls at blah, 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 blah. So then that person knows that they're leaving a message and it doesn't go into, voicemail, whatever, and that they know that they can expect a call between the hour that I've set.
the forwarding is super important to me, like Shannon's talking about. I frequently do that.
Yeah, I think that's a really great tool as well. And thank God that we have the technology now that we can do it, as much as that technology can suck us into the vortex. It can be a really great thing when we utilize it properly. We've got a few more minutes here, and I just want to, I know we've got actually quite a few viewers right now. If anyone has any questions or comments, we've got some really great commentary on this right now. If anyone has questions right now for any of us, that would be, if you want to just comment below. I will make sure that we try to get to your questions here in short order. But real quick, I think if you are going to work on starting to effectively time block your calendar, if you have not yet done it or still working on it, my suggestion is to not time block your entire day right now, because you're going to, if you're going from 0 to 100, you're setting yourself up for failure right away. So start by time blocking one thing. So Stephanie, for instance, time block your me time. Can you do an hour a day or a half hour a day or 3 hours a week or whatever it is for your me time? Get that time blocked on your calendar. Do that for a week or two effectively. Then add your kid time, and then add your vacation time, and then add your lead gen time and your lead follow-up, which, by the way, are two different things. And then when you're going to respond to phone calls and when you're going to have appointments, but do it incrementally so it doesn't end up being overwhelming and forcing you to just kind of fall back on things. Wendy or Shannon, do you have any other suggestions to that end?
No, but I like the idea of oops, lost, yeah. Oh, there we are. I like the idea of adding one thing at a time. I think that might be a little bit easier to take, especially if you're, I mean, like she's saying, do your time and start with that. If that's what we're all kind of finding is at the heart of what makes us feel good, to start out your day, especially like Shannon was talking about that, you know, if she doesn't do that, the rest of the day kind of goes to crap. You know what I mean?
Right.
Especially if you're trying, Stephanie, you're trying to do this and you've got extra help now. I think you know when you're starting to know at least when you've got that other person to kind of check out and do some stuff for yourself.
Right.
Like even for Stephanie, I'm gonna start with you, lady, because I've been there. I want you to promise us you are going to get a glass of wine or an herbal tea or a big glass of hot water and lemon, your favorite book, whatever, 10 minutes, and meditate. Even if you have to hide in the bathroom, because I remember when my little ones, like you couldn't go anywhere.
You're making me tear up.
10, you have our permission, because apparently we need permission. 10 minutes for yourself, uninterrupted. 10 minutes. That's all you need. No expectation, because you are the glue in the foundation, and there's only so much of you to go around, and we love you, girls, so you need to do that for you.
And you don't want to get those kind of things that we do for ourselves prevent us from getting sick. And having gone down that road, if you don't take care of yourself, you end up in the hospital like I was. And none of us want to be there. But take care of yourself first, because she's right. That's the glue.
Yeah, 10 minutes
and let's add to
without guilt, and then work up. No guilt. No, you're not allowed guilt.
Exactly, no guilt, because Stephanie, think about it. And all you ladies out there, think about it. You take 5, 10, 20 minutes for yourself. Clear your mind, meditate, do whatever it is you need to do just for yourself, for your own well-being. Would you agree that that's going to make you much better with your children, much better with your significant 100%. Other, much better in your intention for life?
Yep, 100%. When I was doing Miracle Morning, I was pregnant, so my other kids were still sleeping a little bit longer, so I could get up and do the Miracle Morning, but that was like life-changing when I was doing Miracle Morning. The silence and meditating and affirmations and yoga. And then I had the baby, and then that all hit the fan because she was up all night, every night. So getting up early was already just happening, but it wasn't for me time. It was for everybody else time.
Yeah. Well,
but yeah, I mean, that 10 minutes is huge.
It is. And it doesn't seem like a lot, but it is. It's really important, and you need to give yourself permission to do it. So whatever you need to do to make that happen. Any last questions here, and we'll let you all get it back on your day. Wendy or Shannon, do you have anything else you want to add or follow up with before we close out?
Absolutely. If you are the kind of person where you schedule yourself back to back, be flexible. So if somebody cancels, don't get upset or angry. Go, absolutely. That I'm already scheduled, and I booked that hour off anyway. So I'll sneak away and I'll grab a tea and sit at the waterfront. Shh, that's my secret.
Love it. Love it.
Is it bad?
What about you? Anything to add?
Is it bad if an appointment cancels and we all are enjoying it?
Yeah.
It's awesome, actually.
It happens. It's life. I love it when it's the last appointment of the day that cancels, and I get to like go home early or go have that glass of wine or whatever it is. That's my favorite cancellation.
That was me last night.
It happens.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, ladies. I think we're good here, but thank you, ladies, for participating. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed this, if you're watching and you enjoyed this, please go ahead and share it on your Facebook page. I would love to get more questions and commentary and suggestions for other topics that we can talk about. in upcoming episodes. Tomorrow, same time, 11 o'clock Central, we are doing mindset, motivation, and affirmations with Charity Gent, Jody Bach, and I have one other person. Hold on, let me look. I can't remember who the other person is. I will get back to you on that. But two really phenomenal business coaches and one other person talking about mindset, motivation, and affirmation. So hopefully you guys can tune in tomorrow, 11 o'clock, Facebook Live. And thank you all for joining. You ladies have a wonderful rest of your week.
Bye, Stephanie, Shannon, and Nicole.
Bye.
Bye.
It was great
Bye.
meeting you, ladies.
Thanks. Stephanie, reach out if you need anything.
All right. Thank you so much.
Okay. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.